Hillary Clinton will win the New York Democratic primary, beating socialist Bernie Sanders. Joining us now are some of the Donald Trump's children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Tiffany Trump. Guys, good to see you. How are you?
Great to be with you, Sean.
Great to be with you.
I appreciate it. This is the first time we've met, so nice to see you.
So happy to meet you.
Big night. Obviously, we don't know what the delegate count is going to be, but numbers I've been seeing up to now, almost near 60% or above. If he gets 50% in every district and wins the state, you could win as many as 95 delegates tonight.
We're very excited. Listen, it's a big night. There's no place like home, as they say, right? So we knew we were going to do well here. I think so far, based on what I'm seeing and what you're seeing simultaneously, it's a bigger win than we even imagined, and it's going to be a great week.
Yeah. What do you make of all the issues in the last 2 weeks about delegates? For example, in states like Georgia, South Carolina, places that were kind of long forgotten.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's amazing. When you let the voters vote, we do incredibly well. You know, when you try to suppress that, it's a different system. That system made sense 200 years ago, Sean, 150 years ago, when people lived on a farm. They didn't have the Library of Congress in their fingertips on their iPhones. They didn't have access to information. It no longer does. We have to let the American people decide. I mean, it's actually a joke. I feel like I'm in communist China sometimes watching this stuff. You know, it's crazy. When the American people get to vote, we win.
I think there's a certain need for reform. The Democrats are even worse because they have this whole superdelegate system.
Correct.
But I always think, all right, if it's a national party, the people represent the party, so you should have either a caucus or a primary. Let the people participate, every person that wants to. You can be proportional or winner take all, and I think every delegate should be bound. Are you upset about the process and what's been happening in terms of states that have already taken place?
Well, listen, I think people are seeing it for the first time. I mean, they're really seeing the delegate system, how unfair it is. I mean, look at Colorado. Colorado was a perfect example of this. I mean, people didn't get to vote. And, you know, as Don just said, I mean, that really is a democracy. And people are upset about it. I mean, people are upset about it. And the Republican Party, they should want to expand the voter base, right? And doing that, quite frankly, especially to the front runner, it does the exact opposite. It has the exact reciprocal effect. So
this is a record turnout year, too.
Yeah.
And Republicans in primaries are way outperforming Democrats from where they were in 2008.
Well, especially in swing states, right? I mean, one of the things that never gets talked about when they speak about Cruz is we're winning so many of the states that you need in order to win the general election, whether it be Florida. You saw how well we've done so many other places. I mean, look how well we did tonight in New York. Can you imagine if a Republican took the state of New York?
It's interesting. Hillary Clinton, a senator here, we didn't project her right at 9 o'clock straight up when we came on the air.
We saw it at about 9:00:001.
That was pretty much it.
It was pretty fast, and you know, that's amazing. I mean, the GOP hasn't won New York since '84. I mean, imagine just putting that into play. What that means for the general.
Or New Jersey,
the
or
GOP
Pennsylvania.
should embrace that. They shouldn't run from it, but they're worried about someone who's going to shake it up. They're worried about someone who's going to get rid of their little cadre system where everyone takes care of everyone else, and there's no accountability, Sean. They can lose. They put forth these terrible candidates. They lose, and guess what? Nothing happens. They have their job. It doesn't matter.
What about Reince Priebus, who say, well, everybody knew the rules ahead of time. Should you have competed differently, maybe in a state like Colorado?
No, because my father, he wants to speak to the people. He's given people a voice. He wants to focus on the blue-collar, hard-working Americans. The only non-protected class in this country are the people who made this country great, are the people who built this country, and they don't have a voice anymore. He wants to be their voice. He wants to make sure they're heard.
I thought one of the more fascinating descriptions of your dad came from you. You once called him on my show a blue-collar billionaire.
100%.
That's an interesting line.
100%. I mean, that's how he is. I mean, you see him, just the way he gets along with people, whether it's, you know, the construction workers on our job sites, because he's also the only candidate up there who's actually created jobs. Hard to believe. You know, he gets there. He just understands these people so well. He's really one of them. He's been very successful. He's incredibly smart and wealthy. But, you know, he's that guy. He's an ordinary American in many respects when you get him one-on-one alone.
You know, I've talked to your brothers a little bit more than you, Tiffany, but I saw an interesting quote about you fairly recently where you said that your father's work ethic, you don't want to underperform. You want to overperform, that he's inspired you. What did that mean?
I think my father is just someone who motivates all of us truly, and you know, all of my siblings, we work so hard, and with the American people, you know, he really is relatable to them, and all my family in Georgia, you know, my mom's from Georgia, and everyone is just rooting for my father, you know, trying to get hats, and we can't even get like my closest relatives' hats. So it's such a movement, and just so amazing to finally see, you know, something happening and changing in politics.
Did any of you expect this from your father?
Always. Listen, if there's one thing I've learned in my life, never underestimate him. If he gets into something, he's going to do well. He's going to do it right. You know, unlike a lot of the other candidates, you know, they win by one vote and they say everyone else should drop out. Everyone else should drop out. You know, so if Ted Cruz comes in a distant third in New York State, maybe he should think about doing the same thing, Sean.
I think the New York values comment certainly, and our exit polls showed this, that it certainly had an impact on people. Let me get back to this delegate issue, because it's a very big issue. Mitch McConnell, I want the delegates to pick somebody who can win. I don't think he's talking about your father. Mitt Romney's talked about it. John Kasich has talked about it. Karl Rove has talked about it. And even state GOP leaders have talked about a white knight candidate. So my question is, if they were to try to disenfranchise the voters, what's your reaction? Where does that go?
Isn't that ironic, given that he's millions and millions of votes ahead of everybody? I mean, you saw the performance today. You've seen the performance up to today. He was a couple million votes ahead. After the 26th, he'll be many millions of votes even further ahead. I mean, that's amazing. You also see the turnout at the polls. You look at states like Nevada, right? They had the biggest turnouts they've ever had. You look at South Carolina. You look at New Hampshire. These states are having the biggest turnouts that they've ever had. You see the amount of people that came to the polls today, Democrats who wanted to vote Republican, who didn't know the rules. They were getting turned away left and right. You see in Pennsylvania, quite frankly, how many people registered. There were Democrats who registered as Republicans very early.
It was almost 100,000. That happened.
Those numbers, Sean. Why turn those people away? I don't get it. I mean,
he's growing the base.
You destroy the party.
Growing the party, and it's an amazing thing.
All right, so the number's 1237. We still have a lot of contest to go. If your dad, if it turns out he gets anywhere, I would argue between 85 and the 95 delegates, which it appears he's on track to tonight, that gives him an almost 300 delegate lead. Heading into states, Connecticut, he's up 20. He's up 20 in Pennsylvania, up 20 in Maryland. Delaware, Rhode Island, both seem to be going in his favor. So now he's going to get a lot of momentum coming out of here. If he fell 37 short in the delegate count and they try to steal it, what happens?
Oh, I think you destroy the party. I mean, why go through this process if that's going to happen, Sean? They've made people watch how many hundreds of debates at this point every day. I mean, if I see one more countdown clock for an event that doesn't happen for 6 days and they're counting down, it's only 4 days, 3 hours and 76 seconds. It's ridiculous. If I see one more of those things talking about another, why get people so vested? Why get people so vested? If you're going to say, you know what, we want you vested, we're going to get you into it, we're going to do this, you're going to show up, you're going to vote, we're going to take a year of your life in terms of news cycle, and then guess what? We were just kidding. We were just kidding, Sean. Your vote doesn't matter.
No, this is a really
crazy.
serious issue.
You're going to disenfranchise so many voters on both sides, by the way.
Yeah.
On both sides, you're going to destroy the system that we know it.
Yeah.
It actually may create a window for a viable third party, Sean.
Think about all the time, effort, energy people go into caucusing or voting, and they spend time. They watch shows like this. They make an informed decision about who they want to vote
Sean,
for.
look at Arizona, right? I mean, people were waiting in line for 3-4 hours in order to vote. So then you tell them that vote meant nothing, and they were just suggesting a candidate. I mean, their vote didn't count for anything. That was really just more of a suggestion than anything. I mean, that doesn't work. That's not democracy in play. And
There's
I think
two issues at play here.
I
think these are arcane rules that are outdated, need reform, but there's also the other side of the argument, which is, okay, everybody knew the rules going in. What I also don't like is this idea that, okay, delegates are committed to, say, your father or Ted Cruz or John Kasich, but then, okay, the other candidates will come in behind your back, go back to those states, and what are they offering them?
Well,
And they're bribing them. It's bribery.
That's a crooked system.
If we did that in business, you go to jail. How does that work in politics?
Well, can they pay for their hotel room, plane ride, and expensive
people
dinners?
Are coming onto it. They understand it, and they're disgusted. The amount of people that grabbed me on the street, the amount of people that today, when going in to vote, be like, I can't believe the system, because they weren't even aware of the system. The average voter has no idea that this is going on behind their backs, that their vote really, in many respects, doesn't even matter. They get it in Colorado, they saw it in Wyoming, and they're disgusted.
All right, because I have three of the children here, I got to ask this question because it's important. All right, so who got in trouble the most? You.
Does that surprise you, Sean?
No, honestly, that's why I get along with him so well, because I got in trouble since I was in first grade. I got taken home by the cops.
Barbara Walters asked us that question once. We were all on the air, I think all 5 kids, and my dad was there, and she started asking the question. She got about a third of the way through the question. She goes, done. Next question. It was over.
That was it?
Yeah,
it was all over? You told me a story once. You could repeat it here. You told me on my radio show, your dad, you're 7 or 8 years old, and he asked you to get him a Coke can, and you didn't get it?
Yeah, he came back from a rather rough day of work, and he was like, listen, run to the kitchen, grab me a Coke. And I said, I'm not your expletive maid.
Oh.
I thought I was tough. And I've never seen the man move so fast in my life, Sean. It was like, and my mom caught me at the top of the stairs and just handed me to him. And she was that European, tough disciplinarian, type. And, that was one. I learned never to do that one again.
Did you learn from your brother's mistakes?
Yeah, I did. No, he definitely took it a little bit more.
And you just blame it on him, and they already probably.
But honestly, he was such an amazing father.
Yeah.
He could not have been a better father. He could not be a better boss to all of us. I mean, sitting in a room here today, I could not be more proud of the man.
Yeah.
He is so fantastic.
And how
He's such
about
a great
your brothers? Do they treat you well? They treat you the way you should?
They better treat me well, or someone's going to get in trouble. Right?
It's more the boyfriends that have to worry. Yeah. They have a lot more fear than
Do they?
should. Yeah.
Are they tough on your boyfriends?
They want to take care of me, so I appreciate it.
You appreciate that. All right. Well, congratulations. Big night for your
so
dad.
much.
Very nice to meet you too. Eric, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Sean,
it.
for
Thanks,
everything.
Don. Appreciate
Sean,
it.
good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
All right, coming up, Bill Hemmer standing by at the Hannity Big Board tonight. He's going to break down how tonight's results will impact that delegate count out of New York. Also, reaction from Laura Ingraham, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani will join us right here on set. That and more as we continue live tonight from Trump Tower. Hannity continues on the road.
We are going to be so strong again. We are going to be really, legitimately so great again. And I just can't wait. So, we don't have much of a race anymore based on what I'm seeing on television. Senator Cruz is just about mathematically eliminated. So we're going to celebrate for about 2 hours. Then early in the morning I get up and we begin working again.
All right, that was Donald Trump speaking earlier tonight after his big win in New York in the Republican primary. And now on set, well, first the big board back, we call it the billboard, and the Hannity big board is our own friend Bill Hemmer. Bill, how does it work out with the delegate count at this hour?
We cannot divide delegates for New York State yet, Sean. There is a projection. Donald Trump's doing really well in New York. Let's make that clear. Will he get all 95 delegates? It's tough to say. There is one projection that's floating out there that may put Trump right around 90 delegates, which would be certainly enormous for his campaign. It might really change the arc of this race. And I'll tell you why, okay? This is our delegate projection. New York is not on the map. Trump starts tonight at 7:56. Needs to get to 12:37. Sean, I'll take you a week from today, right? There's 5 states. We think he does well in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania. Now we're in the month of May. Indiana's tough to figure. And just as we were listening to Trump last hour, he said tomorrow he goes to Indiana and he goes to Pennsylvania. Why is that? Right now, we believe Indiana favors Ted Cruz, so we'll get that in the Cruz column. Then the week after is Nebraska. We think that winner-take-all favors Cruz. Same day, West Virginia, we believe, favors Donald Trump. And now we're third week of May, Sean. Oregon's close, so is Washington State. We'll split it up right now, and then you've got the 5 remaining states on the map. Just follow my scenario, Sean. We believe Cruz is favored in Montana, likewise for South Dakota. We believe New Mexico's a 50-50 split between both. We still think California favors Trump with 100 delegates right now out of 172, and we still think he wins winner-take-all in New Jersey. So on this tabulation, he's 157 shy. So then where does he go to look for these delegates? Maybe our projection is wrong about Indiana. And the reason I say that is because there's no state polling happening. There's very little information that would indicate perhaps maybe which way the Hoosier State's going. Maybe Trump goes there and flips Indiana. Now you see those numbers drop again. And then we move into the month of June, maybe Montana, which is winner take all, by the way. And 27 delegates on the line. Maybe Trump does well out there, and you see now where he starts to pick off some delegates. So we're being a little generous right now as we knock down these numbers. I'll give them back to Cruz just for the sake of this argument. One more point. Pennsylvania has 71 delegates, Sean, but they will only award 17 next Tuesday night. 54 will be unbound, which means they can go wherever they want on the first ballot in Cleveland, Ohio on July 18th. Those 54 unbound delegates will join about 140 others for a grand total of 170 unbound.
Pennsylvania has some very interesting ways in which delegates are ultimately going to be bound to candidates. Many are unbound. You only get 17 for winning the state, then some 54 are unbound. You have the names of the delegates on the ballot, but not next to the candidate that they're supporting. So it gets pretty complicated. But Bill Hemmer, thank you so much.
Indeed it does. You got to talk to me later, Sean. Thanks.
All right. Joining us now on set, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is with us. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm very good.
All right. Obviously a big night for Trump. We don't know the total delegate count. Should be between 88 and 95 by the looks of it and the numbers we're running. My question is, you have voted for him today. You said you support him.
I do.
Not endorse.
Well, people think that support is endorsement. My view of endorsement is being part of the campaign. But I fully support him, completely urge people to vote for him and think he'd be the best candidate to beat Hillary Clinton. I'm just not part of the campaign, and I don't want people to think that I am.
Stay right there, Mr. Mayor. We're going to just dip in and hear a little bit of Hillary Clinton talking in New York. She's at Clinton headquarters as we continue our coverage from Trump Tower tonight. We're just going to just hear a little bit from Hillary right now.
Today, you proved once again there's no place like home. You know, in this campaign, we've won in every region of the country. From the north to the south, to the east, to the west. Did it again, and I am deeply, deeply grateful. I want to thank everyone who came out and voted, and to all of you across New York who've known me and worked with me for so long. It is humbling. It's humbling that you'd trust me with the awesome responsibilities that await our next president. And to all the people who supported Senator Sanders, I believe there is much more that unites us than divides us. You know, we started this race not far from here on Roosevelt Island, pledging to build on the progressive tradition that's done so much for America, from Franklin Roosevelt to Barack Obama. And tonight, little less than a year later, the race for the Democratic nomination is in the home stretch and victory is in sight. I want to say to all of my supporters and all of the voters, you have carried us every step of the way with passion and determination that some critics tried to dismiss. Because of you, this campaign is the only one, Democrat or Republican, to win more than 10 million votes. because more voices remain to be heard, and tomorrow it's on to Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and beyond. We need you to keep volunteering. I hope you will join the 1.1 million people who've already contributed at HillaryClinton.com. And by the way, most with less than $100, because we have more work to do. Under the bright lights of New York, we have seen that it's not enough to diagnose problems. You have to explain how you'd actually solve the problems. That's what we have to do together for our kids, for each other, for our country. So I want you with me to imagine a tomorrow where no barriers hold you back, and all of our people can share in the promise of America. Imagine a tomorrow where every parent can find a good job and every grandparent can enjoy a secure retirement. Where no child grows up in the shadow of discrimination or under the specter of deportation. Where hard work is honored, families are supported, and communities are strong. A tomorrow where we trust and respect each other despite our differences. Because we're going to make positive differences in people's lives. That is what this is supposed to be about, actually helping people and each other. Who are still hurting. I see it everywhere I go. The Great Recession wiped out jobs, homes, and all my heart that, as another great Democratic president once said, what we've always done. It's who we are. America is a problem-solving nation. And in this campaign, we are setting bold, progressive goals backed up by real plans that will improve lives, creating more good jobs that provide dignity and pride in a middle-class life, raising wages and reducing inequality, making sure all our kids get a good education no matter what zip code they live in. Ladders of opportunity and empowerment so all of our people can go as far as their hard work and talent will take them. Let's revitalize places that have been left out and left behind, from inner cities to coal country to Indian country. And let's put Americans to work rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, including our failing water systems like the one in Flint, Michigan. Many places across our country where children and families are at risk from the water they drink and the air they breathe. Let's combat climate change and make America the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. Let's take on the challenge of systemic racism. Invest in communities of color. Pass comprehensive immigration reform. And once and for all, let's guarantee equal pay for women. And we are going to keep our families safe and our country strong, and we're going to defend our rights. Civil rights, voting rights, workers' rights, women's rights, LGBT rights, and rights for people with disabilities. after all, New York values, and they are American values. And just as we did in this primary campaign, we need to stand up for them. Throw the general. It's divisive and frankly dangerous. Returning to trickle-down economics, opposing any increase in the minimum wage, restricting a woman's right to make her own health care decision, promising to round up millions of immigrants, threatening to ban all Muslims from entering the country, planning to treat American Muslims like criminals. These things go against everything America stands for. And we have a very different vision. It's about lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. So instead of building walls, we're going to break down barriers. And in this campaign, I've seen again our remarkable diversity and determination. This is a state and a country of big-hearted, open-minded, straight-talking, hard-working people. You know, like John, a firefighter from the South Bronx that I met shortly after 9/11 as he searched for survivors at Ground Zero. And like so many others, John got sick from breathing the toxic air. When we met again last week, he gave me a replica of his FDNY badge and thanked me for helping our first responders get the health care they need. We have to keep fighting for John and all of our firefighters and our police officers, our emergency responders, and the construction workers who did so much for us. Or Maxine, a 27-year-old single mom from Staten Island who's here tonight. She shared with me how she worked her way out of poverty, graduated from college, thanks in part to the help she got for her child from the Children's Health Insurance Program that we started in the 1990s. Or Mikey from Stuyvesant Town, who spent, is Mikey here? Well, I'll tell you, Mikey spent 6 months in Rikers for a low-level drug offense. And he found out how hard it is for people who've done their time to find jobs when they get out. Mikey managed to start his own ice cream shop. I took a lot of you in reality or through the media there yesterday, as soon as I got it. By the way, he made a concoction for me called Victory, a box, so others have a fair chance to succeed. You know, New Yorkers and Americans speak every language, follow every faith, hail from every continent. Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths in the 21st century, not a weakness. As Robert Kennedy, whose Senate seat I was honored to hold, once said, "We are a great country, an unselfish country, and a compassionate country." And no matter what anyone tells you or what you might hear from others running for president, that is still true today. America is great, and we can do great things if we do them together. So please join us. Text JOIN 47246. Go to HillaryClinton.com. Be part of this campaign. I know how important it is that we get the campaign's resources from people just like you who go in and chip in $5, $25. I am grateful to every one of you. And to the volunteers who have worked your hearts out.
All right, by the way, Hillary Clinton wrapping up her victory speech from tonight, and of course she's finishing up and giving out her email address. We continue with former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Well, you saw some attacks there. Republicans are dangerous, and well, that's what she said.
We haven't revealed any top secret information, as far as I can tell.
I don't. Well, that's a great point, right? Or committed.
We haven't taken $1.2 million for UBS and made a phone call to try to get help for UBS by the Secretary of State.
They want to take away a woman's right to choose. The Republicans are dangerous. This is the old playbook. They use it every election.
We weren't part of the bimbo squad. I mean, you know, attacking. They want to talk about attacking women? You got to be kidding me.
She has the highest, in terms of a...
And he can win in the South. Whoever wins New York and Mississippi.
Kind of a good point.
Yeah. How about Alabama and Massachusetts?
What about...
Cruz is a sectional candidate at best, and he even lost in the section he could win in. I would like to see Senator Cruz, Governor Kasich. You know these people who are saying, I'm not going to come to the convention, I'm not going to vote for Trump. If Cruz is the candidate, I'm going to support him, I'm going to vote for him because I'm a Republican. I am trying as best I can by having some objectivity here and presenting myself to friends of mine who don't want to come along and support Trump. I want to see if I can bring them along, because I think when they really face the reality of it, we don't want her. We don't want somebody. We don't want somebody that dealt with national security with the kind of reckless disregard that she did. And you know, how many months ago did I give you my 13 possible crimes she committed?
It was 16.
Well, then I added 3 more and gave it to you. We don't want a president like that.
Here's the question. Right now, the intensity, the anger between Cruz supporters against Trump supporters against Cruz supporters. But if the polls hold up, Ted Cruz, as of next Tuesday, might be in the same position as John Kasich, where it was mathematically impossible.
That's why we got to calm this down. We need some objectivity. I have a lot of very good friends who you know that don't support Donald Trump. I want to bring them along. I think it's possible to bring them along, because I know when they calm down, and I've been in tough elections, and I know what happens when you calm down, they're going to realize that Donald Trump is much better for this country than Hillary Clinton.
What do you make of what's happening on the delegate side of things? In other words,
this is going to turn some of those delegates. You know, some of those delegates that were moving toward Cruz, when they see a big win in New York like this, when they see the kind of cross-sectional support that Trump has, that Cruz does not have, when they see that tiny little number that Cruz got in New York, now, how could he ever win New York? How could he ever win Massachusetts? How could he ever win California?
Do you think Trump can win those states?
I think Trump
is deep blue states.
I think Trump is viable
in some of those states.
Almost everywhere. Trump is Hillary's worst nightmare.
Why do you say that?
I say that because she knows how to run against Senator Cruz. Straight fastball over the middle of the plate. They've been hitting that one out of the park for years. Donald Trump, as I described once before, is a Mariano Rivera cut fastball. You don't know where he's coming at you.
That's true. And for years.
If I were her, and I mean this honestly, if I were her, I would want to run against Senator Cruz. This is no disrespect to Senator Cruz. I have great respect for him, but I'd rather run against him than I would Donald. There's a playbook to run against Cruz. No playbook in running against Donald Trump.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Thank you
so much for stopping by. Joining us now, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham is standing by. Laura, good to see you. Your take on tonight, and also the battle that is emerging in terms of if a candidate doesn't get to 1237, you might say enticements that might be going on, certainly the courting of delegates to switch for a second ballot vote. Your thoughts?
Sean, I don't even think the question tonight, after watching this massive victory by Trump in New York, is whether he gets to 1237. He may. But unless something really wacky happens over the next 4 to 6 weeks, he's going to go into that convention with the most delegates and the most votes. Exit 50% workers said that the person with the most delegates and most votes should become the nominee. So the only question I think after tonight, and after, as Rudy pointed out, the broad victories he'll have in the Northeast, he'll have in the South, he'll have in places like New York, out in Arizona. The only question is, how far will the Republican establishment go to kill off this guy who is the most popular of all the other candidates? Now, this is analysis. This is not an endorsement of Trump. This is an analysis. How far will Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and all the other people who say, oh, they're not putting their finger on the scale, but come on. I mean, we heard Mitch McConnell today. We heard Paul Ryan talk about the negative tone. Meanwhile, Sean, we're hearing about Trump staffers being blacklisted if they ever try to work again. Now, who has the bad tone now? Is it Trump or is it the GOP establishment that seems like it's pulling out every stop to try to stop him from getting this nomination? I think that's the real question.
New York voters in exit polls said 70% of them said that the person that has the most votes, the most delegates, won the most states, they should get the nomination. But Mitch McConnell, now, and it was 60%, interestingly, in Wisconsin, where Donald Trump did not win in Wisconsin. Right. But still, the people there said the same. Mitch McConnell said when we get a nominee at 1237, he'll actually be the candidate. If not, there'll be a second ballot. And I want delegates to pick somebody who can win. Now, when you add those comments to Mitt Romney's comments, to Karl Rove's comments, prominent people within the GOP, doesn't it sound like they want the white knight candidate and they want to defy the will of the voters and disenfranchise?
They're and it's going to come soon. He better be really sure that all these, the delegate maneuvering that he's done, which has been good for him, it's been a smart thing to do, but he better make sure that all these people are wrapped up for him, because he might get to that convention and find a stiletto in his back, figuratively speaking. And he will have no leverage at that point. And how much power will he have if Hillary ends up being president of the United States? How much power will any of these Republicans have? Their agenda, their foreign policy, their maybe they'll get the trade from Hillary, and maybe they'll get immigration amnesty finally from Hillary. But as far as the Supreme Court, everything that we know is so important, they'll lose it all. So I know all the never-Trumpers feel like they're clean and they're pure and all of that. But if the majority of Americans and most delegates of the whole group goes to the guy who doesn't get the nomination, I don't see how this is going to end up well for the Republicans. I think it's a perilous course. And if this were anyone else but Trump right now, we would be seeing a coronation over at Capitol Hill at the RNC headquarters. But because it's him, no such happening.
So the establishment is mad at how the people have voted. People, by the way, that I think have legitimate anger and frustration with the Republican Party that has promised, for example, to stop executive amnesty and repeal and replace Obamacare and use the power of the purse, things that they never got done. Didn't they, in a sense, very much create an atmosphere where people want an outsider? And now they're going to work behind the scenes, perhaps deviously, to try and take that vote away from the people, or maybe even work against the candidate. Is that something we have to watch out for?
I don't see a lot of signs that the establishment and even most of the big donors are learning all that much from all of this. It would be nice if instead of the comment we heard from Mitch McConnell that he's basically looking forward to a second ballot, if someone like a McConnell, who's a smart guy, who said, we're watching what's going on and we're hearing the people's substantive concerns, not the personality contest, not the beauty contest, but the substantive concerns they have about the trade deal, about open borders, about more foreign workers coming in, about the refugees pouring into the country. We hear you, and we're going to make some revisions. We're going to at least meet you halfway, people. Right. But, Sean, if the party no longer represents the people on these key issues, then there really is no party. At some point, the party just becomes something else, I guess.
Well, if they try the white knight strategy, which Mitch McConnell was talking about and other prominent Republicans are, there will be no party. There will be anger. It's predicated on anger, resentment, hostility, and disenfranchisement. Laura, good to see you. Thank you. And joining us now on set here with reaction, Donald Trump's convention manager, Paul Manafort. Paul, good to see you. How are you?
Good, Sean. Very
What do you think the final delegate count is for Mr. Trump tonight and his victory?
Well, I'm not sure yet. They're still counting a couple of close congressional districts, but we will top out over 90 delegates tonight.
So it's almost a clean sweep.
90, at least 90 out of 95, and maybe a few more.
All right, the big night. All right, let's talk about, there was an article in Real Clear Politics today. We've been following, for example, states that we thought were long done and finished and over, following states like South Carolina, Georgia, other places. And there seems to be the courting of the delegates to, on a second ballot, to switch to another candidate. How big an issue is that in your mind?
There's not going to be a second ballot, so there's not an issue.
And you're convinced?
We have several ways to get to 1237 by early June, and today was a giant step forward. We think we're going to have another great week next week, but more importantly, what you saw record turnout today in New York, and a record turnout with a primary that everybody knew Donald Trump was going to win. But
does it bother you when Real Clear Politics has an article out today that, quote, Cruz can come in dead last in Pennsylvania, which is a week from now, and still take more than half the delegates?
Cruz may take dead last in the vote, but he's not going to take half the delegates.
So you have no concern about that or any of the other states, or can you bring us inside how you get to 1237? I tried to get that out of you last week.
I could, and you're not going to get it out of me this time either. But I can tell you we've got several ways to get there. Today, you know, the 90 years plus that we got today exceeded my base count in this state.
What about the Cruz campaign and Reince Priebus saying everybody knew the rules going in, and in states like Colorado, Wyoming, and other places, the campaign should have competed harder? What's your answer to that?
Donald Trump is not saying he didn't know the rules. He's saying the rules aren't fair, and the people, the voters, the Republicans and the independents who have participated, they don't understand the rules. So when they think they're voting for Donald Trump, and they're not getting the delegate support that because of the rules of the various states, Donald Trump's saying that's a rigged system. And he's not saying, and this has been confusion, he knows he can't change the rules this time. What he's saying, though, is it's a rigged political system, and he's going to change it when he's president and leader of the party.
I think rules need to be changed. I think it's either a caucus or a primary. It's proportional or winner-take-all and bound delegates. But, Paul, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Sean.
All right, coming up, we have more Hannity right after this break as we continue straight ahead. And welcome back to Hannity as we continue. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, the big winners in New York tonight. Joining us now, Peter Johnson Jr., Geraldo Rivera, Doug Schoen. What does this mean on the Republican side, Peter? It's momentum. There was 2 weeks, an interval. Ted Cruz had a win in Wisconsin. Sure. Now a big win for Trump.
Donald
here.
Trump made a great point tonight for his campaign that they can't beat him mathematically, that he's on the road to victory. The second point, we heard it from his children, was that Donald Trump is not the interrupter. They're the spoilers. They're the people who want to get in the way.
Cruz, everything you hear from now until November, I submit, is just noise. This is a fair fight. Ideological differences that are clear. Right, left, red,
You
blue.
don't think the Republicans in Cleveland are going to try and take this from Trump?
They will be absolutely irrelevant. I'm telling you, Sean, what happened tonight is, Doug's shaking his head.
He is the presumptive nominee.
Is something that will be replicated in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania and in Maryland and in Rhode Island and in Connecticut. Trump is, I think, tonight the presumptive nominee.
Sean, notwithstanding what Geraldo and Peter say, the Republican establishment is not going to accept these results, even though the mandate from the people is clear. Big night for Hillary Clinton. The nomination, as Geraldo suggests, is effectively resolved. Bernie will fold eventually because he cannot win. Hillary is the front runner, and as long as the Republicans are divided, it only helps the Democrats and Hillary.
I believe in Frank Capra. Meet John Doe.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Right.
I believe that fair play will out.
But it's amazing how much we've learned, how deeply there is this divide and how the establishment hates how voters have voted this election, be it for Cruz or Trump. Two insurgents, they don't like either one of them.
Something else happened. Ted Cruz, coming from a state as proud as Texas, should have known. When you come to to New York after you have insulted New York, and then expect New Yorkers to have that kind of short-term memory to forgive you, I think was preposterous. He got burned.
Exit polls,
he deserved it.
Exit polls showed that was a big issue. All right, we'll take a break. We have more Hannity coming up on this election night coverage straight ahead. Big wins for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And, of course, that's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Of course, we'll be back in studio tomorrow night. But let not your heart be troubled. The news continues. America's election headquarters starts right now with Brett and Megan.